Greetings, friends. I hope this video finds you well, wherever you might be today. I recently returned from a brief semi-absence from social media. I've decided recently that frequent detoxes from the online world are a good move for the sake of my mental health. And what I realized when I came back is just how useless social media platforms have largely become. They are no longer about genuine interaction between people. We are now being algorithmically manipulated to see what the platforms decide they want us to see rather than authentic content that we would actually like to see. This isn't anything new. It's been going on for several years, but I just think that it's become very pronounced of late. Also, the reason I haven't made videos like the one I'm making right now very frequently lately is that I don't think there's really much new information that I can give you. From a South African perspective, life goes on much as it always has. The government increasingly seeks further control of the economy and social realms, chiefly in the pursuit of its transformation agenda. Transformation, in the South African context, basically refers to racial homogenization and quite frankly, the elimination of anyone who doesn't conform to the political elite's narrow idea of who should be in power in this country. Now, I know it might sound like I'm using very complex words for a very simple phenomenon, but I have to be careful how I say this for legal reasons. In terms of the day-to-day life in South Africa right now, our power grid continues to be unstable thanks to government incompetence and corruption. And it's funny because corporate society, as in the big businesses of our country, have stepped up and said they are perfectly willing to generate power to keep the lights on in the country. But it's still not happening as quickly as it could because government itself is slow to accept these offers, because doing so would be to surrender control. And if there's one thing the ANC does not like to surrender, it's control. Because you see, for African leaders, it doesn't matter if the place they rule actually functions or whether their citizens have any kind of quality of life, as long as they and the people they care about are financially sorted and comfortable and not affected by the problems they cause. They literally don't care. I believe that they would happily watch this country literally implode, which it sometimes does threaten to do, as long as they weren't affected. Because to give you an example, government is currently pushing for national health insurance, socialized healthcare, much like what you see in Canada and in the UK. But the thing is, our medical infrastructure is nowhere near capable of handling socialized healthcare, and many of the major medical organizations that represent doctors and nurses in South Africa have warned that if they push any kind of mandatory socialized healthcare initiative through, the doctors will simply leave the country. Now, politicians don't care much about that because it's a habit of South African leaders to use government funds to fly to other countries when they require medical treatment. The political landscape of South Africa is also again, rather unstable, because even within the different political parties themselves, there is infighting and there are factions all vying for power at the expense of the stability of the country as a whole. And when you listen to our politicians speak, when you hear what they really say, because sometimes, surprise, surprise, they give honest interviews, and most of them are in politics not to serve any constituents or to make a positive difference for the communities in which they live. Their aim is to control things for the sake of their own financial futures. Now, that's not surprising, but it is surprising in the sense that some of them will be quite frank about it in news interviews and on social media platforms. I guess South Africa has reached a point where there's no real reason to hide these things anymore, because politicians, particularly those in the higher echelons of power, know that we as the average citizens don't have any real recourse to stop them from doing what they want to do, because they don't live in the same world as the rest of us. Now, I think you'll start to see why I haven't made many videos lately, because none of what I have to tell you is positive or uplifting. So I've decided that I'm really not going to spend time every day complaining, because I've been on somewhat of a spiritual journey lately, in that I know things are bad in this country, and I know that the future looks pretty bleak, particularly for someone who looks and sounds like me. But the fact is, whatever happens is going to happen. Now, I don't say that to be nihilistic or dark or to appear like some sort of martyr, but the reality is what it is. So I've decided that every day I will just make the best of whatever arises and try to be the most decent person I possibly can be. Because at this point, that's all I can really control. I have no control over the larger forces which govern my life. I don't think any of us do, really. But for me, it's become increasingly apparent as time has passed. So, once again, I hope that wherever you are, you're doing as well as you can, and I'm going to try to do the same. For now, farewell.